Hello everybody, welcome to the Braehead Curling Rink, where we're going to watch the final of the Star Refrigeration National Wheelchair Pairs. I'm delighted to welcome alongside me Tony Zummack, the head performance coach for wheelchair curling for GB in Scotland. Tony, so far everything going well?
Yeah, I can say this has been a fabulous competition. We started 3 days ago with 20 pairs of teams, so 40 curlers, and it's been outstanding. It was all very, very close. The games this morning in the final round robin sections all had meaning, so it's been a fabulous day so far. Looking forward to a very good final.
Thank you. Yes, things have been very exciting, and here we have the High Road final, which is taking place between Ian Donaldson and Mo Simpson against Aileen Nielsen and Kirsty Berkner. Some tried and tested curlers in there, with Kirsty Berkner perhaps being the rookie of the game here.
Yeah, Kirsty is from here at the Braehead Club, and she's been doing a little bit of work with Aileen Nielsen, and as well as Michael McCready, who've been coming over here practicing. So she's had quite a bit of ice time this year with some very experienced curlers, and come on very well. She's played very, very well in their games so far, so I'm looking forward to seeing how she reacts to the pressure of the final.
I'm sure she'll be up to it. She certainly sounds as if she's up for the game. I think they all will be. The Star Refrigeration Pairs is a well-respected and fun competition, and they all enjoy it. I
noticed in the semi-finals that the ice was maybe just a wee bit quicker than it has been. Again, they're doing scrapes in between these draws, so not quite as much pebble built up. So a lot more stones sliding through the house in the semi-final. Not as many coming up short as we saw the first one of this game slide through as well. So it'll be interesting to see if the ice is actually a wee bit quicker than it has been for most of the weekend.
Well, the reports I've been getting back from the curlers have certainly been that they've been enjoying the ice. It's been very keen, and that suits wheelchair curling down to the ground. So I think a pat on the back to Chris Noble and his team, who've been working really hard, and they've certainly presented the ice well. It's looking bright colours, bright rings, very clear, and I think the curlers are all enjoying it.
Well, the second stone at the end stopping just short of the house in that 4 or 5 feet in front of the house area, so this should mean for some exciting play now. Obviously, Ian looks like he's going to be asking Mo to come around that one, so the game should be on from here on in this end.
Aileen Nielsen must have won the toss, as she's the hammer might be pre-selected, but it's up on the board that Aileen's got last stone. Last stone always being pretty important.
Absolutely, you definitely want to be able to have some control, especially in the early part of the game. One of the things I'm not 100% sure on yet is as the game progresses, if it's actually more of an advantage to throw first or second. Sometimes it might be more advantageous to throw first and put that pressure on the opposition. So it definitely does take a little bit of thinking with wheelchair curling as to whether or not you want that last rock advantage or whether you can dictate play by throwing first.
When there's quite a swing in the ice over the weekend, so the curlers can really get nice draws in behind guards, which always makes for exciting curling. Kirsty Berkner's just about to play her third stone.
She's a left-handed curler as well, so we're starting to notice a few more of the lefties moving into the game, which is always nice to see. I know as an AB curler, lefties always messed you up because it's a different line of delivery and stuff coming out of the hack, but not so bad in wheelchair curling as far as a perception point of view.
No, the stone is usually right in front of the wheelchair curlers, but I think at some point you'll get an opportunity to discuss the placement of the stone between the two 18-inch lines, which is a variation in wheelchair curling. And Mo's making the most of it here.
Yeah, on the throwing end, you do have 18 inches off of the center line you can deviate from, so we can definitely manipulate the angle of delivery, again, a little bit more than an AB curler coming out of the hack, which you're obligated to throw from the left hack if you're a right-handed curler and from the right hack if you're a left-handed curler. So there's a few more different angles and options available that we've started to explore and experiment with. Just that one lone stone out front and everybody else is just sliding a wee bit heavy. It's like The back line plus a foot seems to be the perfect weight right now.
I think there's probably a wee war of nerves out there at the moment, just trying to settle into the game, and I know the boys have been working on the ice, so it's possibly slightly different from the semi-final.
To echo your comments from earlier, though, the ice has been absolutely incredible. It's been fabulous for 3 days. And it is quite a bit different surface again with wheelchair curling, because you don't have as many bodies out there moving around with the sweepers and such. So the ice makers do a fine job as far as taking care of the wheelchair curlers' needs, because they are a wee bit different than the able-bodied curlers.
Well, I think Chris Noble and Jonathan Heggie will be delighted to hear that. They certainly have put every effort into making this a fine surface to play on, and here's another stone just slipping through the back, so they'll need to exercise a wee bit of control here.
So in the pairs format, they play with 6 stones as opposed to 8 stones, with each curler throwing 3 stones. So now the first 3 stones of the end on each team have been delivered. So now we switch places, and Mo and Kirsty come this way. Aileen and Ian head down to the other end to finish off the end, so to speak. So with that shot right there, you can see how the stone is sitting right on the center line. It'll be interesting to see if the stone does get moved, whether or not Ian uses the 18 inches or whether he's going to throw from that spot. There's that lone guard out front. Hopefully somebody brings that guard into play.
Well, if they propose to bring it into play, most certainly giving ice way out. It looks as if anticipating about an 8-foot draw, so if Ian gets the correct weight, we'll see just how far it swings.
Stone just coming into view. This looks like it has a much more advantageous weight on it than the previous stones. That's perfect T weight, and it did curl quite a bit, Judy. They had ice just out into the 12-foot on that, and they got probably a quarter stone buried, so they did cross the center line.
It's just amazing. That's a really big draw, and you can certainly make use of that if there are guards out there. Aileen just setting up to clear that stone away.
It has been delivered and is on its way, and we'll wait for just a couple seconds here to see how it looks. Just ticking that front guard, which is the plan B option there. Obviously that yellow stone was a wee bit buried, so if you're going to miss on that, that's the right way to miss. Get rid of that center distraction. So if Ian doesn't make a perfect play on his next one, then Aileen's got more accessibility to that yellow stone on her second throw.
Same ice being given by Mo for Ian to play, hoping to probably just go centre line again, finish on the centre line shorter, the front of the house. Don't they call numbers for zones, Tony, where they want to finish the stone?
Yeah, we work with a 6-zone system, so zones 1, 2, 3 out in front of the house, and then zones 4, 5, 6. So top 12, top 8 would be zone 4, the 4-foot would be zone 5, and then back 8, back 12 would be zone 6. So really the line's the most important thing on this one, trying to get a little bit of that stone covered. So as long as we can just get it back in there, so that's decent. It's going to be in Aileen's eyesight anyway, so that'll be a visual distraction she'll have to deal with if she's trying to get to shot stone.
Well, it forces her to change her hand in playing it. She's still hoping to clear the centre stone away. But Ian just cutting the front edge of the rings there puts that second stone in play as a possible counter.
And from that angle you can see how again Aileen has moved the stone out as far as she can, which gives her as much visibility for that shot stone as possible. And sometimes it's the visual that means everything. The more you can see, the better chance you have of making it. Great line coming in. Fabulous hit and roll, and I think she's going to keep it around for shot stone.
Brilliant stone. But there again, I wouldn't expect anything less of Aileen. She is our Scotland and GB skip.
Yes, for sure. She She went to Vancouver for 2010 as the fourth stone thrower for Great Britain, and last year and the year before actually as well, 2011, she was the skip for the Scottish team at the World Championships that came home with a silver medal. Obviously skipped last year as well, and hopefully she's hoping she'll be selected this year for the team as well, going into Sochi as a preparatory year for the Paralympics next year.
Yes, it's a full program all round, but she's very experienced and I think Kirsty, her partner here, is soaking up and really benefiting from that experience. But here's a very nice hit from Ian Donaldson. Clears the red stone away, rolls in.
And sits shot stone back 8 foot. So once again, the pressure switches back to Aileen's team now, looking at 2 stones. So this is the advantage of having last stone here. With the way the board reads, if she does have last stone, that's why you want it to be able to make this last one. Well, from behind it looked like it was delivered very, very straight, as we're sitting right behind the sheet, so this looks like it should be a perfect nose hit. Actually gets a wee bit of a roll in behind that guard as well, so that's going to make it a little more difficult now. That's the end of the end, so no more difficulty. There you go. Stuck for 1, just like she was supposed to. I said that was last stone at the end, and then I changed my mind.
It goes very quickly. 6 stones each team is it's not a lot of stones, and it just passes very quickly. But that was a very fine effort by Aileen, scoring a point, and with that 1-0 lead, they go into the second end, and the winning team play the first stone. So red to play.
So I would say this is one of those situations where in the able-bodied game now, generally only scoring 1. If you want to get a little bit more aggressive, you might choose to throw a center guard to try to stimulate more play. I think what you're going to notice here is Aileen's probably looks like she asked Kirsty to play it into the house. And again, without having the benefit of the sweepers and stuff like that, sometimes it is significantly harder to make that perfect draw around the guards, where a stone in the house does put pressure on the opposition right away because they have to deal with that stone. So I think Aileen's really looking for Kirsty to get this stone in the house and put the pressure over to Mo.
She'll be wanting to settle Kirsty down too, giving her regular draws, just settle her in. And that looks a pretty good stone to me. Is it just going to bite the rings? Oh, perfect stuff.
Yeah, that's really good, because now if Ian's going to get Mo to play on that, she's going to have to go to the wide side, or he's going to elect to ignore that stone and actually have her draw to the center, which either shot there is perfectly acceptable. One thing you have to do, though, is if you do call this shot, you've got to make sure this shot's stone, so it makes Aileen have to deal with it.
You can see in the shot there, the lady in green is just buddying. Buddying's a very important aspect of wheelchair curling. Just steadies the chair so that the player doesn't need to worry about the chair jumping and putting them offline.
Looks like a very good stone coming into the house. You might just rub that one and actually roll over right into the center. The other thing we have to remember with wheelchair curling is that accuracy is great, but it's still not quite the same as being able to slide and manage a stone for 3.5 seconds coming out of the house. So we do need to look at what our options are and make sure we're calling the right shots with as many positive outcome options as possible. Without the sweeping, without the stone control, it is a slightly different game that needs to be called.
Very much so. So not just plan A, plan B, plan C?
Absolutely. We don't want to get much past the C's. Yeah. If we get much past that, it's probably not a good option, but we definitely want to be looking for a couple or 3 options anyways.
I would hope so. But there again, if you can't be good, be lucky sometimes.
And you need to be lucky to be good, and you need to be good to be lucky, so it goes both ways. Aileen was asking for a draw into the house on this one again. coming over to the side of the sheet where the shot stone was. Not quite into the house, but in a good spot. One thing with this ice, Judy, and especially with these stones, one of the things I've noticed over the course of the 3 days in the competition was how the lack of handle can really take the stone off course much earlier. So all of the athletes that are here in the final, what I noticed was putting a lot more rotation on the stone, keeping it to hold its line a little bit more so they weren't dead handling or slowing down too much when they're coming into that final phase of the delivery.
It's a very important aspect that I think can be ignored by some of the curlers, but it has just shown its importance this weekend. Now it's just a wee bit strong from Mo, just slipping out the back. So Kirsty gets another chance to come up to that stone.
This is one thing Aileen does very, very well. You know, with a little bit of more experience in the head, she understands how she has to play the strengths of her curlers. And Kirsty is a very new curler, and sometimes her power is inconsistent, so she's not always delivering the exact same weight. And if you're calling takeouts, not only is the line important, but you've got to be expecting that same weight every time. So because Kirsty maybe doesn't have the consistency because of the time on ice, Aileen's playing to her strength, which is the draw. So she's just trying to get her to draw all the time, so she's very consistent with that, and away from stuff, so she's not getting stones in guard positions, which is going to allow Aileen, who does have the ability to throw those strikes, a little bit clearer past the stones. So this is a very smart call, I think.
Very much so. And there's a beautiful stone right up to the 4 foot. And I think Ian will be asking Mo to deal with that one and hopefully leave the yellows lying too.
He's pretty generous on ice here, so once again he's playing to the strength of Mo. She doesn't throw those big hard takeout weights in that, you know, whatever you want to call it, 7, 8, 9 second range. She throws a more controlled weight. So again, being aware of that, taking the right amount of ice, and not trying to have the athlete play something they're not used to playing. You know, don't ask them for something that they're not going to give you. You're better off to play their strength.
That's the secret of the game. Know your players. Now, I think
wee bit inside there and a little bit soft on handle, and that's going to cause that stone to curl, which is what we were talking about.
yes.
Chips off of her own, but gets a very, very nice roll over in front of that shot stone. She's not shot stone, but again, much more of a distraction than where the other yellow stone was.
So the players that have played the first 3 stones now move up into the head. So always involved in the game, you're either playing or you're in the head directing play for your partner. I think that's why the pairs game is so much enjoyed by all our wheelchair curlers.
Yeah, there's definitely not near as much downtime in a conventional 4-player game. Either you're throwing or buddying or you're skipping, but there's always that one person that's kind of sitting around and just timing or doing something. There's quite a bit of downtime. So this is a format I would actually love to see adopted at more club levels, not just with wheelchair, but with AB curlers as well, because it's faster to play. You're active all the time. You're always doing something, and you can get more games in less time.
Yes, and you feel as if you're throwing more stones.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, you're always moving, doing something, for sure. Aileen choosing to throw a draw in here to lay 1 and 2.
Spot on.
Just bites the 4 foot, laying first and second shot. And with the angle of that yellow stone in there, not really in a good position for Ian to be able to use anything on, so he's probably going to have to ignore his yellow stone and go after one of those 2 red stones. I think Ian and Mo are having a wee discussion back and forth here.
They are indeed. But again, note the stone is not on the centre line. They're making the use of the 18-inch rule, which is 18 inches either side of that centre line.
And so far we've had everybody playing what we would call a conventional. There are times we would actually throw across that center line, and with something we'll come back to and talk about if and when it actually gets utilized in this game.
Now the stone's coming in, it's just a fraction wide, I think, but oh well.
So he uses his own to get out that one red stone, loses his shot stone, but then rolls in, and it's pretty close. I might be, if I was a bettor, I might say it's red.
Oh, I'll take you up on that, and I'll say yellow.
There you go. I figured that was coming.
A few more stones to go, though, so I doubt if that will still be the position at the end.
Again, Kirsty doesn't have a lot of experience in the head here, so Aileen's doing lots of calling from this end as far as motioning where she would like the brush and stuff, and that's perfectly legal in the parish format. You can basically let your partner know what ice you want to take and what shots you want to play. I even noticed some of the players didn't wait for their brush holder to put the brush down. They just took their own ice and played when they were ready.
They did.
As long as you make it, I guess that's all you have. Absolutely.
Now,
I
is this one
got a
going
wee
to
bit
come
wide
in?
on this one.
Oh, just a bit wide and heavy there. Still the status quo.
Very, very close to one another in proximity. He definitely doesn't want to throw a strike here and end up removing the wrong stone.
Correct. They're just too close. Now Mo giving him this wide ice again, right out in the blue circles, and looking for the draw right into the center. Now whether they're anticipating going right up to the yellow and just giving it a nudge, I don't know where he hopes this will actually finish.
Yeah, I think line's the most important thing here. If he figures he's shot rock, then he can actually even move it a couple inches. What he doesn't want to do is get really wide on this and set up a double angle. So line is actually probably a wee bit more important than even weight is. Looks like he's a wee wide coming in here.
Yeah.
Wee wide and a wee heavy. It doesn't change anything.
No,
so
it doesn't, unless I'm not quite sure if it's. Oh no, it's been cleared away. So. Zero success with that, I'm afraid.
Well, Aileen's going to get another run at that takeout that she was just a little bit wide on her second attempt, or on a second stone at the end. Now this is her last stone at the end, so she really needs to hear something go bang here.
Aileen with her very distinctive style, just resting her arms before she plays her shot.
And she's very committed to her pre-shot routine. It's something she spends a lot of time on, and it is a very, very consistent routine that hopefully allows her to be very, very consistent in her process.
It's just about there. Is it going to chip it the yellow out? Oh, look at that. How's that? Clean as a whistle.
That's pretty nice. So now she's laying two stones, and they're both in front of that tee line, blocking off the button. So if Ian wants to throw a draw in there, it's going to be to a pretty small place. You could play the in-turn strike and just catch that high stone just a wee bit on the outside and make the double. Might lose his shooter, but he would blank the end and keep hammer. Even if he makes one of those go away, that's not the end of the world. He's only down 2 with 3 ends to play.
Yeah. Tight eyes from Mo, so Ian's going to come up with the big weight to see what he can move, try and move the granite around and leave his own Yellowstone line. That will be his wish, but whether it happens is another question.
So you can see on this one, he's actually set up on the left side of center, but he's actually throwing it across the right-hand side of the center with the anti-clock turn. So he's actually trying to use the negative ice, like we might used to say, to make this not curl quite so much. He's going to be close.
Well, one cleared away, leaves the red shot stone lying, so 1 shot to red. That takes the score up to 2-0 in favour of Aileen Nielsen and Kirsty Bartner.
These are short games as well. You don't have 8 full ends to go, so you do have to keep an eye on the scoreboard. It can run away from you.
It certainly can. You want to keep the score as tight as you possibly can. Losing a big end is not on the order book in pairs curling.
Just looking over at the low road final going on next to us on sheet 6, I see that Gregor Ewan scored 2 in the first end and Jim Seller came back with 1 in the second end. So that's 2-1 for Gregor Ewan with Last Stone playing the third end.
Yes, to follow on from that, Gregor and Ewan are in your top elite squad. So they'll be hoping for a good result here.
Yeah, there's no doubt that we've put in a lot of time over the summer, and this is really the start of our competitive year. So it's a nice event for us to get started with. All 8 of our national squad were here at this and did very, very well. So that was nice to see. But more importantly, we go into the Kinross Open or International starting on Tuesday. So it's always nice to get some ice time in again at a very high level. All of the teams here have been very, very strong this week. So we got some good games under our belt before playing a lot of international teams this upcoming week.
Well, we certainly wish you all the best with your squad in that competition. It should be excellent with how many international teams are playing in Kinross?
There's 6 teams here, so
it's brilliant.
Yeah, we've got all 8 of our athletes. Those 2 teams from here in Scotland, and then another 6 international. So really looking forward to it. Hopefully, we start the year on a positive note and get some good work in.
Well, I'm sure with all the work that's been put in over the summer that you are deserving of a good result. So fingers crossed. And the high road final here. Mo just sending up.
Kirsty's first stone just stopped a little bit short there. Aileen is trying to keep that center area open, so they were trying to play out to the wings just not to get a whole bunch of traffic out front, which could work against them by giving up a big end. So she stopped just a little bit short, but out to the wings, leaving the center wide open. Mo is just a wee bit heavy with that one and slides through, so now advantage switches back to Kirsty and Aileen. She can try to get this one in the house over behind that guard and get the pressure back on Ian and Mo.
Well, let's see if Kirsty can deliver what's asked. But talking about the pairs, Tony, it was really very heartening to see some of the top players taking a partner from the club level, which is virtually what Aileen has done here. Spreading the knowledge, encouraging on, and I think Kirsty's got an enormous amount out of this.
Yeah, one of the things that we try to do with as many events as we possibly can, if they're not preparatory events for a major competition, is really get our athletes to peer coach and to help share that knowledge all the way down the line. So the 8 athletes here were actually made up in 6 different teams, so it was really nice to be able to do that and see how that pays back again with somebody like Kirsty out there. And Mo Simpson is one of our developing athletes in the top 16, and being able to play with Ian obviously is a huge boost for her as well. So there's nothing wrong with that. We encourage that as much as we can possibly do it, for sure.
Well, I think it's much appreciated, and I think SWCA, the Scottish Wheelchair Curling Association, are very much aware of the openness of the knowledge and the instruction that you're putting in, and I think it's cascading down a pyramid now to club level and coming all the way up as.
And from last year to this year, I think that's absolutely a great statement, Judy, because this year the board here at the pairs was very, very tight. So the information that our athletes are sharing all the way down that to the grassroots club curlers is really starting to spread, and they're picking up on some of the things that we're doing and doing well, and they're saying, well, if they can make it work, we can make it work too. And that's what it's all about, is growing the program as strong as we can, as deep as we can. That was a great stone played in there. It shot rock in the 4-foot. For Mo, the challenge for Aileen and Kirsty again is going to be not being able to get rid of that stone right now, just because Kirsty's not able to throw that higher strike weights with the new delivery she's practicing. So Aileen's going to try to get her to throw out to the side and get that second and third point in there, and she can worry about the yellow one when it's her turn to throw.
Here it comes. Just a wee bit wide of Aileen's direction. Just maybe didn't quite follow through in the shot, and it's perhaps just not quite as much weight coming through as she would have liked. Oh, it's not bad though.
It's not bad. It's in a good spot there. It can definitely be promoted and used, and you know that follow through is one of the things that we try to spend as much time as we can working on that, because if the finish gets really short or it gets jabby or the cue finish is too high, you do lose that final thrust of power through the stone. So your body might feel like it worked the same way, but you can actually lose a little bit of that final power which didn't get transferred straight to the stone. So it's definitely much more technical than just sticking your cue on the end of a stone and flinging it down there. There's a whole lot of different bits and bobs involved.
I think it's very similar to other sports in that follow through is so important.
Absolutely, and the techniques we're working with nowadays are much more technical than they might have been when we first started back in early 2000s. So definitely trying to make it as technical as we can, and that takes time for some of the newer athletes to really get everything working in their advantage.
Well, Mo's put up a guard on the short stone.
That was a good guard as well.
It's a lovely guard, but it's maybe just a fraction short, because in this swinging ice I think you can still get round it with sufficient pace to pop the yellow short stone back. But we'll see what Aileen chooses to do here.
Well, with shot stone in front of the tee line, she does have to have enough weight to actually move that stone, which is definitely a tougher task. If that stone was behind the tee line back 4 foot, then she could play much quieter weight and just come down to it. So she can play it, but it's got to be a cracker. So actually what she has chosen to do is something her and I have talked a lot about, which is a good thing, is she's not going to get sucked into playing at shot stone. She's elected to remove that front yellow guard and make Ian throw a good guard back on it again. And again, that's something her and I have spent quite a bit of time doing over the summer, watching game tape and working on tactics. It's really the front stone that's causing her the problem, not the shot stone.
Yes, just chips it away nicely, opens it up again, and now hands this back to Ian and say, well, do it again.
And she has the luxury of being able to do that because she's got second shot in there. She didn't have to panic and go after shot stone. Maybe if she didn't have second shot stone in there, if Ian was laying 2, it might have been a different story. But to show that kind of patience, remove the guard, again, this is, Ian
That's
realizes.
Experience.
Absolutely.
That's experience.
Sure it is, and it's been something that it just takes time. You don't learn that overnight. So she's getting much better at realizing what the right call is at the right time. A lot more patience out there, and put the pressure back on Ian to make sure he throws a good guard here. He really held his finish well there. He had good rotation on the stone. Now the momentum's coming off, and we're inside that hog line. We should start to get some finish on this.
I think that illustrates exactly what you're saying about the finish in the stones. The stones at that weight are coming up and finishing well, meaning...
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make sure that the stone's running a straight line off of the cue, and realistically, when it has that much momentum, it shouldn't be curling. We don't want to see a stone curl that first half of the sheet. We want to see it curl in the back half of the sheet. And if you don't have enough rotation on it, it's going to break a lot earlier than you're expecting it to, and now you're going to tick a lot of guards. You're going to miss a lot on the over curls on the strikes. I think Aileen's now going to play the peel here as well, but now she's being forced to play an out-turn peel as opposed to an in-turn peel. And she threw a dead handle on this one, and you're going to see this stone go absolutely sideways once it comes into your frame, because you can see the stone isn't rotating at all. It's actually skidding.
Well, she was very lucky not to take away her own second shot there. I think she played that one just slightly inside the line and didn't quite get the result that she'd hoped, and now Ian's got an opportunity to remove that red stone and hopefully leave himself lying 2. Yeah,
and right now he needs to make sure he makes this one go away, because he does have last stone advantage here. So he can't just go up there and guard that other one, because then Aileen throws another guard out there and Ian doesn't have a chance to score his 2. So he really has to make sure he throws a good strike here, and he's laying for 1 and 2 before Aileen throws her last one.
Playing across the sheet.
The one advantage to playing across the sheet is you don't have to get out in that really, really wide ice. You can actually keep the stone in that center ice area so that you're not getting out into the frosty stuff, so you don't have to throw it quite as hard. He did that very, very well.
He did indeed. And there's enough air between the 2 shot stones that Aileen would be hard-pressed to play a double on that. They're pretty flat, lying pretty flat, so that could be a tricky one. But she is just going to clear 1. It looks...
Yeah, Ian played that on the clockwise off of the cross the sheet. You're going to see Aileen play the same line, but she's actually going to play this anti-clock. And by changing that angle, if she gets the right angle on that yellow stone, she can actually bounce it over into the actual shot stone. So she's playing second shot stone and trying to get that double angle over into shot stone. Even if she doesn't make the double, hopefully she changes it enough that Ian's got a tougher shot.
She might. Yeah, 1 cleared away. So this leaves Ian probably with a straight hit to score 2 in this end and even up the scores, but easy enough to say that. It still has to be done.
Absolutely. She threw that good. Just curled up a little bit more on her at the end than she was hoping to. She got a wee bit of a roll, but not enough. So, again, Ian should play the exact same shot here that he played on the first one. He knows the line. He knows the weight. This should be as routine an open hit as you can possibly have for a second point to tie up this match.
In other words, that dreadful curling phrase, same again, please.
Same again, please. Looks like he's a wee bit tighter line on this. I think he came over it just a little bit.
Oh, well, he got away with it.
He was laying 1 and he ended up scoring his 1.
He did. And with last stone, you're meant to score at least 1. So he'll be disappointed with that. However, the score remains Aileen Nielsen 2, Ian Donaldson and Mo 1. Now that's confusing me, because up on the scoreboard Mo Simpson is listed as the skip. That's normally the skip's name up there, but she's playing lead stones. So they must have decided at the beginning, no, we'll switch it round.
Yeah, I don't know what the whole story was there. Maybe they flipped the coin and the loser got to skip. And
could well be that. Well, it's worked so far, because they're in the High Road final, and they're hoping to win the Star Refrigeration National Pairs. And you get your name in the statute books with that, so that can't be bad.
And the big winners check and the keys to leased vehicles for the next 5 years, and on your way to the Hall of Fame.
Well, you might get a bag of ice for the freezer.
It's incredible, though, the support to be able to have that. Again, as a national coach, we're always very, very appreciative of all of our sponsors, and especially for Star Refrigeration. We struggle to get sponsors out there, and when you do get them, it's very, very nice to show your appreciation to them, because without the sponsors, you don't make events like this happen at this level. This is a very first-class, professionally run event, and we're very, very appreciative to have the sponsors involved in stuff like this.
I'm extremely pleased to hear you say that, Tony. Star Refrigeration, I'm delighted to say this is their 5th year of sponsorship, and it just has made this event such a success. We're looking forward to many more years, I may say, of similar support. It would be absolutely terrific.
You know, from a coaching point of view, I don't look at them as just sponsors. They're actually partners, because it takes a lot to make all of these curlers get to their dreams and put in the time on the ice and have things to shoot for. So at the end of the day, we're all partners in developing these athletes, hopefully achieve all of their goals. And without as many partners as we have, we just don't have the opportunity as many athletes out on the ice playing and practicing and competing. So yes, we call them sponsors, but in a bigger picture, they're actually partners, and they're partners in the development program of grassroots all the way up to performance level athletes.
Yes, I think you're quite correct there. It's a very valuable part of the game.
So first stone of the end slipped into the house. Kirsty just came a little bit short with her second one, so now the pressure can be ratcheted up another notch if Mo can get a second rock in the house here. And now Aileen's got to deal with 2 stones. Luckily she has hammer this end, so hopefully she can rely on that at the end of it. Still a lot of stones to play, but this is a really good opportunity for Ian and Mo to get some pressure on Aileen and Kirsty.
Well, this has got to stop in the house, Mo. Got to stop in the house. Oh, just eased through. So that's a bit of a release for Aileen, who's just going to ask Kirsty to put up another draw. Just settle down.
One thing we always try to talk about is momentum and opportunities, and that was a really big opportunity to put a lot of pressure on Aileen and Kirsty.
It was indeed.
An open draw, it looks really simple. There's just a big 12-foot circle at the other end to hit, and it should be easy to do. But when you realize that AB sweepers, can help anywhere between 4 to 8 feet, yeah, ABs are really good, don't get me wrong, but they've got somebody that helped them 4 to 8 feet.
Yes.
Wheelchair curlers don't
You're
have
on
that.
your
So
own,
12 feet isn't the biggest target in the world. It is a small enough target.
Well, it's a small enough target, and there Kirsty's drawn a stone up there beautifully.
And it isn't shot stone, but a second shot stone, and it's going to have to be dealt with sooner or later.
Yep.
It looks like Ian is choosing to ignore that.
Yes, just asking for a draw. So settle down, Mo.
One of the other advantages of this skip is they're actually looking back down the ice, and they're actually giving direction to the thrower, so how the chair is set up, how the cue is set up. So it's really about drawing that imaginary straight line all the way from the object brush all the way back through the throwing cue to make sure you're on line, because throwing it straight is incredibly important. So you see a lot of actions, hand actions, brush actions from the skip back to the thrower, helping direct them into the right position before they deliver the stone.
Well, Mo's just eased it a fraction wide, which is probably the preferential way. But you have this lovely phrase, Tony, SWAT, which I think sums up this wonderful setup. I'll give you the honour.
Well, it's very, very simple. I think even if you talk to anybody, curling is really only 3 things. If you can throw it straight with the right weight and you put a turn on it, it becomes a pretty simple game. The problem is you got to do all 3 of those things exactly right every time. So while it might sound easy, we literally spend hours and hours working on just SWAT, straight, weight, and turn.
Yes.
But as Mo showed there, when you get all 3 of them right, it pays off. So that's exactly what we're looking for. That was very nicely done.
Well, I think people tend to focus on the outcome at this end, but they forget that the outcome is totally dependent on this basic setup at the throwing end. If you get that right, you increase your chances right away of getting a result.
Yeah, for sure. Without sweepers, once the stone has left the cue, it's at the mercy of the ice and friction and whatever else out there. We don't have a whole lot to be able to do with it, so it has to be as right as it can be before you ever let it go. This is a great stone coming through the port right here. If she's got the right weight, just stopping deep in the house.
That's a great effort by Kirsty.
Shot stone.
Yes.
Behind the tee line, but it is shot stone.
You mentioned how stones go up with no intervention with sweepers, etc. I think it's been remarkable this weekend. I haven't seen any pickups. The ice has been very clean.
Yeah, very, very, very true. I think last year at the World Championships, I can't recall a game where there were pickups. And same out here.
One away. I think he's just going to nick it, but will he stay in the rings at that weight? Oh well.
Oh, that's the advantage of having another yellow stone there you can run into. He just pushes it off to the side, but now he's second, third, and fourth stone.
He is indeed. Suddenly that red stone is looking rather vulnerable.
A naked cherry in a banana tree. Now you can just wiggle it out of there.
Where did you hear that one?
It must be a Canadian thing. Clothing optional. It does
I'm
put
sure there must be a marvellous Scottish expression that would sum it up just the same.
There must be. I've heard a few of them in my 18 months over here. They don't always pop into my mind, but I know they're out there.
Oh, Aileen. Where are we with this one?
She was trying to play a guard on the red shot stone and throwing it off of that minus position. Got a wee bit tight on the brush, and as soon as it got to the center line, I made a big jump on her. So there you go. That lone red one now could, if Ian could make this go away, he's now laying 1, 2, 3.
It's probably shrunk to the size of an apple now.
Absolutely.
From his viewpoint.
Again, he's using the full 18-inch to his advantage, moving the shooting stone as far out as he can, so he's throwing it more up the sheet as opposed to out to the brush. He's throwing it down a line now.
Taking enough ice to play a controlled weight, I would suggest, without having a complete blast at it.
That was a very nice delivery from behind. He threw it very straight with good rotation.
He's going to get a result too. Will he run to the inside? Get a roll? No. Sits out in the open, but still, job done.
Job done, laying three right now, so the pressure again transfers right back to Aileen and Kirsty. Aileen's got 2 stones left, so this one plus 1 more. Ian will only have 1 after this, so she can still cut the damage down here and give herself a good opportunity to score, but she's got to play a cracker with this one.
Looking, I would think, not just to clear the stone, but to get the bounce back behind the pile of guards at the front of the house. Or
yes, for sure. That would definitely be a bonus. Right now, she definitely wants to hear this one clunk the other one at that end, for sure. You want to make sure you get shot stone. Again, from behind the sheet, the line looks very good. She played it across the sheet again, trying to maximize that angle to get to the inside. Right on the nose, shot stone.
Well, it asks the question of Ian now.
It's very interesting watching this whole dynamic because both of these athletes, Ian and Aileen, are both in the national squad. So training together all the time, but then going out there and competing against one another, but then at the same time buddying each other. It's something that we spend a lot of time on because for us it really is a squad atmosphere. We're always doing everything to benefit the squad, so while they still want to make sure they're taking their own opportunity to perform out there, it's great that they can work together and help each other when they have to as well.
I don't think there'll be too much whispering in the ear of how to correct his setup.
You're absolutely right. They might not be sharing at that level, but you can always count on your buddy to be holding your chair properly.
Very much so. And this looks a very good stone.
Now he could actually get the roll in behind the pile here, and now he's got a force opportunity to steal.
Wow, what a shot.
That's a great shot.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
That changes the entire complexion of the end because now Aileen's got nothing to come down to.
Well, she has got the whole 4 foot to maybe draw to. That's a very specific shot.
Yeah, we have, you were talking about SWOT earlier. One of the other things we talk about is PEP. And PEP stands for Percentage Execution Pyramid. So the bigger the target, the lower the PEP value, and the smaller the target, the higher the PEP value. So, a 4 foot for us would be like a PEP 3 type shot. She's only got 4 feet to go into, where a 12-foot circle would be a PEP 1.
Yes.
So just a straight draw to the 4 foot. Again, if you got sweepers, that's a pretty easy shot. That for us, that's a PEP 3. It's definitely not just drawing the button. It's not that hard, but it's not as easy as just throwing it into the house either.
But having said that, look at the ice that she's taking. I think she's looking to bump the red onto the yellow to the yellow.
I would say by what she's got right there, yes. And even if she just dead sticks it and only gets rid of one of them, she only gives up 1 point.
Correct.
So again, playing to the strength and the PEP value, as long as she strikes that red stone, her worst case give up should be 1 point.
Yes. Certainly that red stone has to hang around.
She was a wee bit narrow on the throw. She definitely
Is she
doesn't
going
want
to
to
get
catch
a
it on the
result out
downside.
there?
If she catches it on the low side, she
she's
could
gonna
actually
come
give up
through
a
the
whole
middle.
bunch.
Oh my. Well, 2 shots to yellow. It's not quite what she wanted. She did throw it slightly inside the line. So 2 shots to yellow. So the Donaldson-Simpson combo creep ahead 3 stones to 2 after 4 ends.
And we're playing 5 ends?
We are.
Go, we're the start of the last end with a 3-2 lead, correct?
3-2 lead to Simpson-Donaldson combo. So it all comes down to this one. Ian looking for some nice draws from Mo right up to the front of the house. Oh, you're needing to sweep this one just that little bit more, but it's still a pretty good stone.
It'll be something that'll come into play later on. Yeah, I wish one of the ABs would have jumped over from one of the other sheets and gave that a couple of brushes. I'm sure Ian would have loved to have seen that slide into the house.
He would indeed.
But unfortunately, pushing a wheelchair and sweeping at the same time don't work so well, so we don't allow that.
Oh, I think there's a few that would really like to do that. However,
that stone is actually going to be something that might actually come back to bite Ian a little bit. With a 3-2 lead, he's really trying to get that stone in play in the house and enforce something here. I'm sure he didn't really want to come up that much short. He could end up, again, we'll see how the end plays out. If Kirsty can get a couple in the house here, that stone could be something that Aileen uses to her advantage.
Right, well, Kirsty has just played that one a little bit short, hasn't crossed the hog line, and therefore isn't in play and will be removed from the rink. So it goes back to Ian and Mo. Ian indicating a draw right round the first guard that she played.
This game has been a wee bit of a momentum roller coaster. One team has it, but they only keep it for 1 or 2 stones, and then it transfers back to the other. So it's trying to stay as level as you can out there and not getting emotionally involved in riding that same momentum roller coaster. It's trying to stay as level as possible.
Quite often, I think, over the weekend, we've seen maybe just one loose shot has cost very dear. But here's a nice draw from Mo this time. Drawing round that guard stone, right into the rings. It's just going to trickle past the tee, and maybe that's not the best place to be, but it's still in the rings, counting. But does give backing for Aileen. If she can get Kirsty to play up to the rings, there is a stopper there. But no, she's going back to the same draw that she's given Kirsty every time.
And again, I think this really just plays down to the fact of, Kirsty's inexperience and trying not to give too many different sight lines and everything else at her. All she's got to do is set up on the center, throw it down the center. If she can just really focus on getting her weight and her rotation and trying to get the most out of every stone, that's really what Aileen's looking for, and not trying to get her to make too many different shots. Wee bit wide with this one as it's coming into play now.
Is it going to creep over the hog line? Yep, it has.
So again, Aileen's needing to score a couple of points here, so it's not the end of the world for guards to be out there for her. I'm sure Ian's maybe getting a little bit concerned that he's got one behind the tee line and 2 guards out front. Pressure's really on Mo to get this one in the house again and hopefully in front of the tee line so that Ian really controls this right side of the sheet.
Once again, the buddy in position, just holding the chair. And I have to say, we're so grateful to all the volunteers who have turned up over the weekend and cleaned the stones, moved the stones, buddied, just on all general things to keep the games moving and make everything as quick and simple as possible for the curlers. And
that's a very nice shot.
That's a beautiful shot, Mo. She could be very happy with that one.
She's got enough of it buried that Aileen can't run a double there with the 2 yellow stones in the house. And knowing that, again, Kirsty's got one more stone to throw, her strength is the draws, so now Aileen really doesn't have a choice. She's going to be forced into throwing a draw in around those guards. She can't afford to play out to the side anymore.
And I think she's playing up this side of the sheet on the out turn to probably leave the open side for her stones when she gets the opportunity.
Yeah, I think again she's trying to keep Kirsty's stone in a good spot, but at the same time, if it stopped short of the rings, it wasn't taking away 2 paths. Just got a wee bit tight with that one, and stone came across the body, and on that release, that's exactly what you would expect to see the stone to do, is actually come across very, very quickly too. So unfortunately, Kirsty's probably not really happy with those 3 stones that she threw in that end, but at the same time, she threw a lot of good stones to get to the final.
She certainly did.
It's not over yet. There's still 3 stones to come from Aileen, so we'll see what they can do here.
I think that will just encourage her to go back to the practice rink and throw more and more and more stones.
Absolutely. The national squad guys are on the ice 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. And if they're not on the ice, they're in the gym. A lot of our other developing athletes, they're just finding out for the first time really how much time the national squad does put in. And they do very, very well for sometimes a limited amount of ice time they do get. And if they want to start to compete and chase at that top end, they're just going to have to get more time in. And it's not that they don't want to, it's just finding out enough time in the schedule to be able to do it.
It is. It really is a whole lifestyle choice, isn't it? If you want to progress to the top echelons, then nowadays it is very much more that you must apply yourself to the task.
Absolutely. Ian had a really nice throw on that one, really held his delivery well. Just trying to throw a guard here on these 2 shot stones in the house. Might just rub off of his own. That's a good spot. I don't think Aileen's going to have much choice other than to maybe make those 2 yellow guards go away. I'm sure she'll call it a clearing shot here with her first one. Just by having those stones come side by side and just touching with the left stone just a wee bit higher than the right one, she can make both of these go away by only hitting about half to 3/4 of that yellow stone. It won't give her the in-turn path, but it'll make her out-turn path much, much easier.
She's just going to nick that center yellow there and very nicely split them off, although one has rolled in, so Ian and Mo are now lying 3.
Yeah, if she'd have caught that just a little bit thicker, that stone wouldn't have actually done that. It would have actually spun, but it would have stayed outside the rings. I'm still sure Aileen's much happy that stone's in the house right now and is not blocking the front off. Puts the pressure back on Ian to throw another good guard here.
Yes, he'll be looking for the wide stone to try and cover everything.
Yeah, back in the day they had those, didn't they? You could have stones as whatever width you wanted, whatever weight you wanted. Nowadays we've moved along a little bit, Judy. We've progressed a little bit now.
Just a little. Nice regular size stones. Beautiful granite. And Ian's played a very nice stone here. Oh, it's still moving, still drawing, but my goodness, that's pretty useful. It does leave the outside stone to the left of the red 4-foot circle, just visible. But whether Aileen...
I don't think there's enough light there that she can get by the guard and get an inside roll off of that. No. So, again, she's going to be forced to either try to play something as a clearing, or if she's going to try to get in there with an in-turn draw, I think is what she's asked Kirsty for right now. So she's going to go back to the other side of the sheet and just try to use all those guards to her advantage and get her tying point in there right now.
Even if she nudges the red guard, it just gets it out of the way, but she's drawing right to the button, and it's got a beautiful line, this stone. Has she got the right weight? Here it comes in. Oh, wow. That was a great effort, Aileen, but she hasn't blocked it. Just a couple of feet too heavy. Now, Ian has really got to gum up this side, because Aileen will try that again.
Yeah, that's about the only problem with playing that on her first one, is that now if Ian guards this, she really has nothing. If she would have played even the anti-clock peel again with that one, and Ian would have thrown that same guard, she would have had an in-turn with her last one. Because she chose to play it on her second last stone, yes. and did what happened, she came a little bit deep. If Ian throws a decent guard here, I don't think really Aileen's got many options for her last stone.
No, I think it was just a stone too early, as you say.
And again,
just
that's one of those things you can't teach.
No.
That comes with experience and knowing when to go and when to be a little bit more patient. And I think in that case, she should have been a wee bit more patient, played the peel on the other yellow stone, and then she would have had 2 options with her last one.
Yep.
With that said, though, Ian's got to make a very, very good guard here, because if he doesn't, she'll have the same option to play again. And the fact that she just played it and she threw it really, really well, she should have pretty good confidence if she takes 3 or 4 weight off of it, she can hit the tee line for her tying point. Okay, Ian's last stone is away, this in-turn guard.
Well, it's looking pretty useful here. It's definitely blocking the route she played. Oh, but it's curling really in tight. Oh, well now.
That's still out there, another half stone from where that red one was. So Aileen's basically got to throw a dead tee weight for this to curl enough once it gets by that yellow one to actually get shot stone. It's possible. It's possible.
Shot stone would take them to a draw after 5 ends, and an extra end would have to be played. Now, she has played up this line before, just a fraction too heavy, so she'll have to make sure she takes sufficient ice, and she just needs to bite the red to take this game into an extra end.
Now, it looks like she's probably taking about another 6 inches of ice, because obviously that yellow stone is blocking her path a wee bit from her previous pass. So the ice out here a wee bit wider could be a wee bit different too. So we'll see if that's a factor.
Well, now, is this going to hold the line? I think this is going to reckon the yellow.
Just looks a wee bit tight right there.
A wee bit tight. Oh, that's bad luck. So that is 3 shots to Ian Donaldson from the Lanarkshire rink and Mo Simpson from the Inverness rink. They are the winners of the Star Refrigeration National Wheelchair Curling Pairs Championship, and I'm absolutely sure they'll be thoroughly delighted with that win.
Absolutely, and the low road final was won by Gregor Ewan and Jim Galt from up in Moray, and they defeated Jim Seller, and they defeated his partner David Morgan, and they're from the South Lanarkshire Wheelchair Curling as well.
They are. So a very good spread of winners and losers here from rinks up north, rinks in Central Belt, and I have to say that participants over the whole weekend have come from Newcastle, 6 athletes from south of the border, which was excellent, and from as far apart as Borders, Dumfries, Stranraer, Inverness, and Central Belt.
Absolutely.
A great competition.
It was a fabulous competition. I look forward to being back next year.
We look forward to that. Thank you very much, Tony.